Hello. I've really been struggling to find time to get into the train room lately. There are so many little jobs that need doing there too. My name is Ian Currey and this is Thinking Out Loud. This week I've been trying to take care of some of those tiny little jobs that cause so much trouble. Come on, let me tell you what I think. Hello. By now you'll know I love playing with toy trains. I also enjoy making old trains work alongside their modern counterparts. Using my background in electrical and electronic engineering, I try things out. I figure out ways to automate my trains and then spend many a happy hour sitting with a soldering iron in one hand and a box of components in the other. In the end, I rarely get too much done because I have to stop and watch the trains go by. My model railway has some lovely old trains. They run right alongside those that have been introduced only very recently. The older engineering wasn't up to much, but the standards have improved, but somehow I keep the old ones working nicely together with the new ones. While it's quite complicated, let me give you a very brief overview of how it all works. Behind the scenes there are several things that, as a boy, I could only have dreamed about. Each section of track is broken up into blocks. When any train is on that track, or as they say in the railway world, occupies the block, power to the section of track behind the train is shut off and signals get set to danger. This prevents another train crashing into the back of the one in the section in front of it. It's all very clever. In a world where drivers would drive the trains and signals would be real, drivers would react to those signals. But in the model world, it's either replaced by me happening to see what's happening or a computer system. Well, that's too clever, isn't it? Well, that part can be really too clever sometimes, but it's all connected to circuit boards that handle block detection and send that information to the computer. The computer has a copy of the track plan and so can see where all the trains are supposed to be. On top of deciding which track can be used to avoid crashing, the detection system can also switch the signals and the tracks and hold trains and tell other trains are out of the way and the track is set for the train to go where it needs to go. Oh, it's a delight to operate or even just watch when it's working properly. But it takes a lot of work wiring it all up and making sure I have everything in the right place before I send trains hurtling towards each other. The computer is clever though. In the old days we would send power along the rails and simply make sure there was only one train on a particular track at a time, or they would all just take off running when the power got turned on. These days, instead of controlling the power to the rails, we leave the power on all the time and we control the trains in a very, very clever way indeed. We send a digital code along the rails and the code is understood by a wee computer decoder that I've put inside each of the trains. The advantages are huge, but of course it's a great deal of work and can be a bit complicated getting everything working in the first place. Recently I'd set everything up for an ancient locomotive to join the fleet. It was really old and I wondered if it would even run at all. So before I went to the trouble of installing a new decoder and then telling the computer about it, and you've got another train to remember, computer, I want you to remember where it is and look after it, I gave the old engine a clean and a quick check over. During our time together, I've sometimes tried to explain complex electrical things using models or homemade examples. I did that with a transformer and a lot of you seem to really like that. This week though, I really haven't had a chance to make a motor to demonstrate what happened. but I'll try and show you on the engine I have in pieces. The kind of motors in these very old model trains, and actually in most small motors, work by connecting electricity to a coil. The coil then is attracted to a permanent magnet and tries to move towards it. And since the coil is attached to a shaft, as it moves, it turns the motor very slightly. A simple switch system using parts called brushes and a commutator turn off the electricity to the coil as soon as it moves, and then connects electricity to the next coil. That next coil then moves towards the magnet, and so the motor starts to turn. Little gaps between the connections to the coils can get all clogged up with carbon from the brushes, and then that connects two coils at once and messes up the way the motor works, preventing it from turning. A very quick and down and dirty simple cleaning method that avoids having to strip everything apart is to fold a piece of paper until you've got a little corner, and we use that point to quickly check the gap between the coil connectors. We make sure they're nice and clear. So being in a hurry as usual, that's what I did. Many distractions and several days passed before I was able to settle down and try the old train and see how well it ran. It didn't. I mean, it didn't run at all. I checked my work, ran diagnostics, and even got a good reading when I asked the computer to talk to the locomotive. What could be wrong? Everything was working, but no motion. I knew the train had run, albeit badly, before I started messing about with it, so I made the assumption that something I had done had gone wrong. Soon the engine was in pieces with me checking everything. I was checking the connections and all the wiring. It all looked perfectly okay to me, even if it was a bit messy. But then I noticed a tiny piece of paper sticking out from under one of the brushes. Remember how I'd cleaned the gap between those coils? Well, it seems I managed to tear off part of that paper and get it stuck under one of the brushes. Instead of making the situation better, I'd managed to mess it up entirely. Such a small thing. Isn't it amazing how something so tiny can mess everything up? Can you think of something small that often causes a huge problem? There are a lot of good examples, aren't there? And some of them are much simpler to understand than connection to a toy train motor. James, in his writings, has a few of those kinds of examples that are worth noting. We can make a large horse go wherever we want by means of a small bit in its mouth. And a small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. Those are good examples, aren't they? But James goes on to talk about how we're very capable of messing things up without actually touching anything. Among all the parts of the body, the tongue is a flame of fire. It is a whole world of wickedness, corrupting your entire body. It can set your whole life on fire. Whatever can that mean? Of course, what we say, the words that come out of our mouths, can do so much damage, can't they? Things we say can really hurt people. And if what we say isn't true, or is spiteful, or it's just plain mean, all sorts of consequences can be the result. Certainly, life often runs a lot smoother when we take time to think and listen before we speak. That instant comeback line that some of us are so good at might be fun sometimes, but can get us and those we're talking to into a whole world of hurt too, can't they? Can you think of a time when you've messed things up by something you've said? How did you put that right? It can be tough to undo the things that causes the problem in the first place, can't it? It might be just a smart mouth comment, nothing more. Being careful with the little things in life, the things that we don't think at the time are significant, are so very important. Now, that tiny piece of paper is out of the motor. You'll be pleased to know that my old train is under the control and command of the computer and is running smoothly. That computer control system is remarkable when I don't mess it up. One of these days we'll have to explore the railway and find out what other silly things I've done to stop things working the way they should. Until next time, goodbye.